So tell me the name of your matchmaking. Did you call it matchmaking?
Yes, it's a matchmaking service. So the name of the matchmaking service is Just Like Me, Love and Relationship Consultant.
And you specifically matchmake gays, lesbian, trans people,
Yes.
LGBTQ people.
LGBT. That is my focus. I can match anyone, but my focus is LGBT.
And what makes you qualified to be able to match people?
That's a two-edged type of answer. I don't think anything prepares you for it. I think the amount of work you put into it is the amount of work that you're going to get out of it. So I've read books. I've gotten a certification in matchmaking. Everything from Steve Harvey to matchmaking book by Patty Stinger, which is the Millionaire Matchmaker. I think the more and more you put into it is the more you get out of it. So you should be looking at sociology and psychology and the work of the brain and cultural things like anthropology.
And what's your website?
JustLikeMeLRC.com.
This is very personal work for me.
Politics.
I believe I was called to tell my story, use my voice, be a voice for the community, to speak to and for a community of people that's been ignored, denied, overlooked.
Religion.
This is my life's work.
Religion.
I want to use words to uplift, heal, inspire, encourage.
Do something different. Every Monday at 10.
Good day, thinkers, thought leaders, progressives, and dreamers. I'm Craig, the writer Stewart, and this is So Much to Say. These are my thoughts in my voice on black shit, white shit, gay shit, and everything in between. Today we have Ricky Berry on the podcast. I am so excited to have you on the show. You have a matchmaking business, and it's called
Just Like Me.
Just Like Me. So how long has the business been in place?
The business has been in place for a little over a year now.
Okay. So take me through the steps. So what do I do? So I've been single now for 7 years.
Okay.
And if I'm interested in finding a partner, do I have to be in Houston, Texas? Because you're based out of Houston. I live in Atlanta. Can you help anyone in any city?
Yes, I can help anyone in any city, but I don't have a database of people in every city.
Okay.
So I can help you by giving you the tools that you would need to be successful in socializing and in dating. But that's about it.
So why did you think it was necessary to find to start a business, a matchmaking service specifically for LGBTQ people?
I had an experience. With a gentleman friend of mine, and he after the experience with him, I felt like the community was very segregated.
Okay.
I felt like we didn't have the tools that we needed to date. I didn't know how to date for myself.
So what was the experience?
The experience was we were planning on going to an event, and he had sold me on coming to the event, and then he said, "Oh, well, number one, you have to be approved to be at this event."
What type of event was it? Was it a party?
It was a social environment. I don't want to give away too much information because I haven't had this conversation with that person.
Okay.
But yeah, it was a social environment, and you had to be approved to get there, because I later found out that the person that was hosting the event, they didn't want the event. They didn't want just anybody showing up to their house.
Okay.
But that's not how it came off.
So was it just like a mixer at somebody's house, or was it an event?
It was a mixer. It was a mixer.
So were they like matchmaking, or it was just like
just an event of single men getting together and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you had this experience, and you felt like...
I felt like, number one, we didn't have the resources that we need. When I showed up at the event was very dry. Mm-hmm. It was very high schoolish. People standing on the walls, and, really not engaging with one another. People staring across the way at one another. And I was like, this can't be what it is. And so I walked in with this bright personality, scared as hell. But with this bright personality, I walk in and I feel like I'm standing in the middle of the room and all eyes are on me. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, but nobody comes up. Nobody approaches. Nobody starts the conversation. Mm-hmm. And then when you approach somebody, it's awkward. It's...
that happens a lot of times. at the club. You know, like
Yep.
I'm not one that frequents the club now, but I recall going to clubs and, you know, you have that moment. Everybody says they go to the club just to dance and to have a good time. But you have that moment where you're hopeful when you're single. You have that moment where you're hopeful that you'll meet a potential partner, you know, somebody that you can get to know, you know, that kind of thing. Everybody says that they go just to have a good time and to dance and to drink, but you could do that at home. So you felt like there was something that we needed in place because that happened all too often.
Yeah, that was a single experience, but even in being on social media, I'm more comfortable on social media, right? So I was a frequent of Adam for Adam at the time. That was like my favorite thing to do. And so I was sitting on there, well, not my favorite, but that was my way of dating.
Well, explain to the people what Adam for Adam is, because
Okay,
there are some
so
people who may not know.
Adam for Adam is a dating website, and a lot of gay men use it as a hookup site.
How you doing?
Oh, come on. They do. They use it for a hookup site, but they do tailor towards more of the sexual.
A hookup.
Yeah,
A fuck.
they do tailor their website to more of that.
Okay. Now, let me ask you this. We're going to come back to LRC. Do you think that Adam for Adam and Jacked, which is also a similar type app, they tailor it that way? Or do you think that's the way that we approach it?
No, I think they tailor it that way. If you look at their advertisements are the porn industry, right? The porn industry, and maybe you'll see a few information segments or advertisements about HIV drugs and things like that, but mostly it's the porn industry.
Well, one could argue that it's advertising. So that's just their revenue. It's a revenue stream. But one could argue that, you know, perhaps they would also advertise other businesses that catered to same gender loving or MSM, men who have sex with men, or gay men or whatever. But I think that there is some truth to that, but I'm just saying in terms of devil's advocate, do you think that it's more so that the people who use the apps, the users, do you think that the users approach it for sex? Because just because they have porn advertisements and things like that doesn't mean that the people who come on to use the app have to use it for sex. I personally think that we reduce it to just sex.
I would have to disagree, because when you
Okay.
look at the creation of the profiles, they ask very sexual related questions. Are you
Yeah.
a top or a bottom?
Yeah.
Have you protected yourself? Are you HIV positive, or do you not give a damn? You know, I mean, what type of question is that?
But they also ask what your interests are, what books, what movies. Most people, gay people who use those apps, just don't fill those sections out.
Okay.
Because what they, and I know this because when I first got on Jacked, I'm not on that currently, but when I started using it, I was using it specifically for the purpose of promoting my books. I never used Jacked in that way, in terms of a hookup kind of way at that time, because I had experiences from using Adam for Adam, like from the home computer. So by the time the advent of Jacked happened, I was already past that. Like I had no interest in doing that. So I was using it specifically to promote and sell my books, and I did an amazing job with that. Sold more books on Jacked than I did on Amazon, because again, there's a trapped market there. It's black gay men primarily on Jacked, and it just allowed me to be able to reach that target market. Well, what I realized was, because not only did I sell books, it also afforded me the ability to do a signing in Jacksonville, Florida, one in Charlotte. It was a great way for me to connect with people, a networking component. And so I started to think, God, this could really be an amazing way for us to meet people in other cities, to form friendships. And then, of course, if you wanted to date or you know, whatever. But I just felt like we chose to reduce that app to just sex, because the administrator, the creator of the app, doesn't tell you that you have to get on there and show your dick and your ass. I mean, people show their dick and their ass on it because that's what they choose to do. So I think that there's culpability on both sides, but if I had to choose, I would say that the people using the app You're looking at me like I just don't agree. But go ahead.
I don't. And the reason why I think it's all about branding, right?
Uh-huh.
If you have a company, if you own a company and you see that what you designed something to be is transforming into something else that you don't agree with, maybe, or you didn't anticipate it was going this direction, is not the direction you wanted to go in, then you would change that branding, right? But if every time I click on somebody's profile, I have 3 advertisements of 3 different porn movies, and depending on what my headline says, those are the type of advertisements I get. So if I put black on there, you seem to find a lot of black porn on the side that is advertised every time you click on somebody's profile. I think that they have set that didactic up to work in that way, and so I think people are following the flow in which they have designed the system to be. And so I think branding matters. I mean, why does people want to go to why does persons want to go to Florida, right? Why do they want to go to Disney World? Right? Because of the branding, right? Because it's on TV, because they're showing you these kids having a good time. Now, that might not even be true. But guess what? You're going to buy a ticket to go see. So I think at the end of the day, how you present and how you present your company, it's the same way with how you present yourself on the date. How you present matters. And so I
think there's definitely truth to what you're saying, because Tinder also offers connections, if you will, or matchmaking with gay people. So you can go on Tinder, where I don't think Match.com, I don't think they do same gender loving type connections. But with Tinder,
they have a different app.
Right. I noticed with Tinder, a lot of the guys that are on Jacked are on Tinder, but they approach Tinder differently. They're wholesome on Tinder and they're whores on Jacked.
Right.
And so, again, it's about, so I guess there is some truth to what you're saying as well. I think it's a mixture of both. I think that it is the branding, but I believe that even if the administrators of Jacked changed their branding, they didn't have the porn ads on the side, I think that we would still come to that platform for sex or in a sexual kind of way. But coming back to your business, so you decided that there needed to be a mechanism for LGBTQ people to be able to connect in a different kind of way, because there was nothing in that space.
Correct.
Okay, so you've been in business now for about a year.
Yes.
Okay, and so if I live in Atlanta and I'm looking to connect with someone, you can assist me in doing that.
Yes.
So what is my first step? How much is it going to cost me?
Okay, so there's an initiation fee with most of the packages that we offer.
Okay.
We offer 3 different love packages: love level 1, 2, and 3.
Love level.
Yes.
Okay.
Love level 1, 2, and 3. Love level 1 is a 3-month package. It is $500. Okay. And there's a $100 assessment fee.
Okay.
Okay, so $600. Love level 2 is a 6-month period. Okay. It is $1,500, and there's a $100 administration fee. Love level 3 is a 12-month service, and it has about there's unlimited matches with it, but it's for 12 months and it's $3,000. Okay. And there's no assessment fee with that. No administration fee.
So with whichever package that I get, what happens? You assess me. You figure out how broken or not broken I am. Okay. So you assess me, and then what happens? So how long is the assessment? Is it like questionnaire?
Yeah. So there's a questionnaire. It takes about an hour to complete the questionnaire, and then I go behind the scenes and figure out what I need to do to get you to where you need to be. Okay. Right? So if that means that I need to do some mock dating with you, or if that means we need to do some branding, if that means we need to do some how to dress, if that means we need to do some how to talk,
how to groom.
If we need to talk how to groom, how to brush your teeth.
Because some of y'all don't brush your teeth and tongue. Listen, when you brush your teeth, you also have to brush your tongue and you have to floss. Listen, go ahead. That's important.
So, but other things like good conversations and bad conversations and how to come out of those.
What's a bad conversation on the first date?
The bad conversation is when you see that person frown up.
But give me an example of something that you shouldn't bring up.
It's not clear cut across the board. I may say that we don't talk about political things on the first date.
Well, what about asking people their sexual roles? Are you a top or you a bottom?
I don't think that's appropriate on the first date, but I have heard of people that have been successful in relationships and they've had that conversation on the first date.
What about bringing up past relationship stuff on the first date?
I think you can do that in moderation, but again, it's all about what the person can comprehend across from you. So you have to be able to read their language and give them just enough to see what's going on with them and then go from there. So we do a lot of work behind the scenes with how do you want to present? What are some of the things you want to talk about on the first date? What's important to you?
Mm-hmm. And see, for me, I think that there are certain things that you shouldn't bring up,
Okay.
aside from politics or religion. But I don't think that you should get into sexual roles and that kind of thing because you're making the assumption that we're going to have sex. I think that it's okay to kind of mention, maybe how long you've been single and that kind of thing. But to go into past relationship stuff and why it didn't work on the first date, I think that's too much. I think that's bringing too much to the table. I think that's dropping off too much of your baggage. It's just like, okay, on this first date, I just need to know the who, what, when, where, and why. Like, who are you? Where are you from? Do you have siblings? What are your interests? What do you do for a living? What are your hobbies? Like, that's all I really need to know from you. I need to just have a conversation with you just to feel you out. I think sometimes people drop so much on the table that first date, and it's just like we don't even have to talk so much about us being in a relationship.
Right.
Because again, you're presupposing that we're going to get to that point. You're presupposing that that's why we're in each other's life.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think that a lot of times we often see, when we approach dating, we assume, because we've decided that we like a person, we assume, oh, well, this is how he or she is going to fit into my life. And that's not always the case. I think that sometimes we have to just kind of feel it out and just kind of see where it's going to go, because they really could just be designed to be a really great friend.
Correct. I think there's two things to that, okay? Number one, don't vomit on people.
Right.
That's what I tell people, okay?
Right.
Don't vomit on people, and they don't want to sit across from the judge.
Yeah.
Right?
Or feel like you're in an interview.
Right. So
I used to do that. I used to do that. Oh, so where did you go to college? Oh, so how many siblings do you have? Okay, what part of town do you live in? Oh,
Right.
okay, so...
And then they test the knowledge on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
You tell them where you went to college. Oh, so you know about...
Right.
And it's like, it becomes a what am I doing? Am I taking the LSATs? What the hell is going on?
And what about like appropriate dates, like first date? I always say that going to the movies is not a good first date.
I used to say that.
Because
I do
you
not
can't
say that
talk.
anymore. That is true, but you can talk before and after. You can talk before and after. I had an amazing first date at a movie theater.
So let me qualify it then.
Okay.
You shouldn't meet at the movie theater and go right into the movie. So if you meet maybe 30 minutes before and you can talk.
Yeah, give yourself, because there are people out there that love the movies, right?
Right.
They know every actor out there.
Right.
And so that's a part of how they can show you who they are, right? And they can take you on that journey with them. Everybody has been to the movies before, but it's one thing to go to the movies because you just want to go see the newest and greatest, right?
Uh-huh.
It's another thing to understand acting. It's another thing to understand
Cinematography, costuming, and
Right.
wardrobe. Okay, so tell me this. You said you had a really great movie date. Tell us about it.
Mm-hmm. So I went on a movie date with this individual, and it was amazing. We got there before,
You
and we sat
smiling.
in the movie theater. Huh?
You smiling.
I know, right?
You really enjoyed that movie
I
date.
did.
Okay, go ahead.
I did. We got there a little early, so we sat in there and we talked about life and the things that he had going on, where he saw himself in the future, things like that. And then the movie started. And we sat and watched the movie. We had a little conversation in the movie, but not much to disturb anybody else. And then after the movie came off, I expected that we both were going to get up, but we both sat there. And the credits are sitting there rolling, and I'm like, we're still talking.
So you were talking about the movie.
This is weird. Yeah. And I want to say it was like Captain America or something. It was some movie or whatever. And we were sitting there talking, and we're talking about meaning, and we were talking about how that relates to our lives and where we saw ourselves and what we can improve on. So it just became...
And see, I always think that a movie date is not a bad date, but I always think of, in terms of it being the only thing that you do for the evening. Like if you meet at the movie theater, or even if somebody picks you up or you pick the person up and you go straight to the movie theater, I just don't feel like it's a great opportunity to connect. But if you meet at a coffee shop or go to a coffee shop first or grab something to eat first and then go, I always thought, or go to eat afterwards, I think you just need an opportunity to be able to speak and to be able to connect with the person. So you're saying the same thing. I mean, but some people will go to the movies and that's just it.
Right.
You'll meet at the movie theater, you'll meet at the box office, and it's like, hey, how you doing? The movie is over. You're like, all right, well, I'll talk to you soon.
Right.
And then you leave.
Exactly.
So there is a difference,
Yeah, it's all about engagement. And that's what I have to figure out before I put you in front of somebody. Do you know how to engage? Do you know how to talk? If you want, and this is weird. I had a client one time that just laid me out the list of qualities that he wanted in a guy. Had to have a PhD, was in this income bracket, all of this stuff, and hadn't even went to college.
And see, that's the problem. See, some of y'all be wanting shit that you don't even offer.
So I had to pose the question to him, what makes you think that this type of person wants you?
Here's the thing, one of the things that I've realized. Oftentimes, people approach relationships or want to be in relationships for the things that they can benefit from the relationship, what they can get out of it. Oh, I want somebody to spend time with. I want somebody to have sex with on a regular basis with. I want someone, if I'm a little short on a bill, I can say, hey, babe, I need a little something for my cell phone bill or the rent or whatever. People don't generally approach relationships for the purpose of what they can pour into another person.
Exactly. Because they haven't identified that in themselves.
Right.
So what they're doing is they're being leeches.
So
if I want to succeed, if I want to get something in life, then I attract. What I do is I go to that person.
I attach.
That's like, right.
I attach
to that person that I feel is there so that they can tell me the secrets.
So and they can pull me along.
Right. They can pull me along the way. Right.
Yeah. See, that's why I've been single for 7 years. I need to know what you bring to the table.
I need to know, and that starts at the conversation level. But if I don't know how to communicate, then all I know how to do is have sex.
So, what are some of the things that you see repeated often in terms of why people are single? In terms of are there certain trends?
Yeah, the inability to communicate, the inability to say, "Here's who I am."
Do you have a majority black clientele?
Yes.
Okay. So do you see like a religion kind of component in there? Because again, your clientele is primarily LGBTQ.
Not yet. I suspect that will change.
Okay.
But not yet. I think I have a lot of millennials in my company right now.
Yeah.
And so not yet.
One of the things that I've noticed as a person that's been single for 7 years, the first couple years I was decidedly single, and then probably 2 years after that, probably 4 years into it, I was just busy, promoting the books and traveling. I just wasn't really situated in one space long enough to really nurture a relationship or build upon anything. Now it's just a thing of readiness. I'm ready. But I'm just not desperate. I'm just not anxious. And I believe that effort is the only way to communicate interest.
Correct.
And oftentimes you don't see people putting forth effort. You don't see people putting forth consistent energy. Because in the world of social media, we confuse consistency with being thirsty. And see, I think in my third book, in this book of quotes, I think I have a quote in there that says, confusing thirst with interest will keep you single. It's something like that. I word it better than that. But,
okay.
But yeah, I think oftentimes people are so afraid of being labeled or being called thirsty. Oh my God, he thirsty. He called again. But no, you just need to show interest.
Right. And you need to be authentic.
Mm-hmm.
What people don't understand is authenticity promotes truth.
What does authenticity mean? People say that all the time. What does that mean to you?
To be genuine.
Okay.
To be aware of who you are and to present that.
And what you want. Be clear about what you want. Because a part of taking care of yourself is telling people what you need.
Right. And who you are. How to treat me. Mm-hmm. In what ways am I sensitive? In what ways am I strong? In what ways will I need your help and your support? In what ways will I need your strength? See, I can rotate 4 tires on the car. That's not a problem for me, right? But when I get in a group of people, they tend to drain me. So I can't have a partner that's paying attention to everybody else in a social environment and not me. Because I will tend to fall into the background and be ready to go. I'm not mad at you. I'm just drained. So if I have somebody that wraps their arms around me every now and
Is it
then-
that you feel drained, or is it that you feel neglected?
No, drained. Because I tend to read the environment. I tend to read the people.
Well, the point that I was about to make was one of the things that I've noticed in being single is also the whole confusing consistency with being thirsty. But also, there's a certain... I seem to run into, and not experience, because I haven't been on a date in I don't know how long. So I'm not drawing these people to me, because I know there's probably somebody listening thinking, well, you're drawing that energy. No, I'm not drawing anything, because I'm not dating. I'm not... But I'm very, very clear about it, and I can spot it a mile away before you even come in my direction. But there's so many broken gay men. And I can only speak on black gay men because that's what I date. Black gay men. And so I can't say if there are white gay men that are broken or Hispanic gay men that are broken. All I can tell you is in my experiences, that factors into my singleness.
Well, I think sometimes you have to consider whether the person is broken, or whether the person is wearing a mask. Paul Lawrence Dunbar, we wear the mask, right?
Paul Lawrence Dunbar, yeah.
Yeah, we wear the mask. And I think sometimes people are not who they make themselves out to be. So they'll present in one way thinking that this is the social norm of how to address a person that I'm interested in, when that's not even their authenticity. That's not who they are. And that's not how they would have really wanted to do that if they had put a little bit of thought into it. So sometimes I say, go on 2 dates with them before you X them out. Go on at least 2 dates with them before you have determined that this person, because you only on a date with them for an hour.
I don't know if I want to do that though. Because, and when I'm going to describe what I mean when I say broken, I mean that there are so many men gay men, that haven't done the work, that internal work of reconciling what they've been conditioned to believe about being gay from what they know for themselves. They haven't done that work. They haven't really reconciled and given themselves permission to live their truth, to live in their truth, and to really love another man intimately.
Yeah, but how quickly can you come up with that assessment if you're only there with them 5 minutes, or you've only had one conversation with them? How?
Because I'm intuitive enough to know that now. I can sense it. I can feel it. I see it. I witness it, because I was once that guy. I'm 41 now. I'll be 42 in a couple weeks. I recognize I was once that guy. I know what that looks like. Didn't have the tools to really express myself and to say what I needed in an intimate way. Didn't have the tools, didn't have the words. Was too afraid to have those kinds of words because it didn't feel normal or natural to be able to speak like that to another man. And so it's like I guarded that. And I think that there's so many of us that struggle with that truth, our truth, because I think subconsciously many of us don't even think that it's okay to feel that way about another man. Doesn't matter that you function and move in gay circles. Doesn't matter that you're out to your family, that you go to gay pride events. There's still men who move in gay circles who still struggle with themselves, their sexuality.
I agree with you. I would say your job is to teach them how to treat you.
Right.
Right? And so if they can rise to that, then they would be the perfect person for you.
So,
right?
so
if you haven't given them a chance to rise to that, if you haven't taught them how to treat you, then I'm not saying fix the broken piece. That is not what I'm suggesting.
Because I was going to say, I don't want to play therapist. I don't want to play therapist.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying fix the broken piece. What I'm saying is have the conversation with them. This is how I would like to commune with you. This is how I would like to be in relationship with you. This is what I need to be happy in this relationship. And if they can fulfill those, everything else will fall into line.
So let me ask you this. In the work that you do with your matchmaking business, Do you kind of look for that kind of stuff? How do you know you're not matching me? I'm just going to use me as an example with someone who has not healed themselves.
The same way. They do the questionnaire as well.
Okay.
I do a very thorough overlook of them, just going into their dating history, their family dynamics, their financials, how their mother and dad acted, how they felt when they were a child. All of that matters because it's all how we constructed and how we show up here today and right now. So I think the important thing to do is just to understand who I have in front of me right now. If I can understand that, then guess what? It's easy to match people together, right? If I can give them the tools to be successful on a date, then yeah, I can have 90%, 99% retention rate, right? And not have any problems with people coming back, right? So it's all about doing the work first. And that's why matchmaking is different from a dating app, because you can't lie in matchmaking. I'm the one matching you. So if something comes back when I put you on a date, if something comes back and you're like, well, this person did this and I didn't like that. And I'm like, when the hell did we ever talk about that? So now you have set me up to fail. That's an issue.
So I was out at a restaurant bar last Tuesday, and I'm out having a good time. You know, I was with two friends,
Okay.
and you know, we had I don't even think I had a drink. I just had a little bite to eat. Yeah,
Okay.
I didn't even have a drink. I just had a little bite to eat. And you know, they playing hip hop, and I'm a hip hop head. I love hip hop and R&B and that kind of thing. And so, you know, every now and then I'll take a little bite of my food, and I'm up dancing at the table, you know, that kind of thing. No one ever came up to me. No one ever approached me. I'm the kind of person that if I'm interested, I'm going to approach who I'm interested in, because I believe, and I'm a firm believer of this, and I believe this for a very long time. The pool, the dating pool, is already shallow. It's already dense. And so if you don't have the courage to go after what you want, you don't have the courage to approach the person that you're interested in, then you're left with what comes to you. So I will go after what I want. Fast forward, the next day, the day after I'm at this restaurant bar, I'm scrolling through Facebook. I get a message on my Facebook, an inbox message. So this guy says, hey, what's up? I saw you last night. I had on a yellow jersey, polo shirt, and you and I made eye contact at some point. I don't think he said anything beyond that. And I said, hey, I put a little smiley face. I said, hey there, because I wasn't offended that he jumped in my inbox. But I said, hey there. And so I said, well, what happened? Okay, so if I was there, you were there. You said we locked eyes. I don't remember seeing him, though. Why didn't you approach? Why didn't you? He says to me, oh, well, it was just so much going on, and, you know, I didn't get a chance to get over to you. To me, I just felt like that was cowardice. There was not that much going on that you couldn't have come over to me, right? Clearly, you knew who I was. You at least knew my name because you came to my Facebook and sent me an inbox. So you clearly you at least knew my name. So he said, well, I didn't want to just come over and then you'd be looking at me kind of crazy. But where have we gone? At what point are we in the world where a person feels like they can't come up and say, hey, how you doing? You know, whatever. And here's my thing. If you felt nervous or intimidated because I was with two other people, fine. Send a drink over. Now, you made the point that perhaps I wasn't a drinker. He didn't know if I was a drinker. But what he could have done was flag down the server that was waiting on us and said, hey, do you know if that guy's drinking something? Whatever he's drinking, send it over to him from me. That could have been your introduction. That could have been how you walked in. But instead, you waited until the next day to hide behind Facebook and send me a message. So I replied to him and I said, I don't really understand how this works. I'm not really sure why you would allow an opportunity where we're face to face, we're in the same room, we're in the same building. And instead of you approaching me in that building, you wait 19 hours the next day and send me a message on Facebook. Already, I'm not interested. And I know you think that I'm jumping the gun. I think you think I'm but I don't think that I'm jumping the gun. I think that that's discernment. I think that's my previous experience showing up, and it's teaching me that this is how you've lowered the bar in the past. Because I want someone that's going to meet me in the middle. And I don't feel like that's meeting me in the middle. Because again, now I'm required to do the work because you done chickened out and sent me a message on Facebook. So now I need to say, oh, well, hey, what's going on? Okay, well, here's my number. Take my number. I'm not doing the work for you. I've done that. I've lowered the bar before. I need you to rise up to the occasion, because if I had seen him in that restaurant, I would have taken my ass over there to him. And and I know some people are shy and whatever. I don't get that, because we all are human. We all take a shit. We all put our legs on at the same, our pants on at the same time, whatever. I just feel like I would have gone over and said, hey, how you doing? Whatever. Bottom line is, he didn't do that. He sent me a message. And so I just don't feel like I should do the work. Because to me, that feels like if we get into a relationship, I will probably always have to do the emotional heavy lifting. That's what, to me, it feels like he demonstrated.
Yeah, you went way beyond where you guys were. I mean, he just wants to get to know you. He didn't ask to sleep with you. He didn't ask to marry you.
So why didn't he just do that in person?
He could have been scared. Is he not allowed to be scared?
So
is he not allowed to be fearful?
Yeah, you are. But then to me, that just means that you're just not that interested.
That may not be the case.
I'm not, and what I'm not saying is, I'm not saying that it's a problem that he inboxed me, because I do feel like there are instances where if I lived in a different city, if we lived in different cities, I have no problem with you using social media to reach me and say, hey, I think you're whatever. I would love to get to know you one day or meet you one day or whatever. I don't have a problem with that. But I do have a problem with if we're in the same city and we happen to be in the same building, instead of you using that opportunity to say something to me, you wait till the next day and send me a message. Like, that's a problem to me. Like, that's a turnoff for me. Now, I don't know about anybody else.
Okay.
But go ahead.
I get it.
But help me.
I think I get it. I think that was your opportunity to teach him how to approach you. I think it was your opportunity to show him who you were. And I think that's what he was trying to do, is to get out there and figure out, who is this guy that's in front of me? Now, if you hadn't chastised him, if you had said, hey, man, I would have preferred you to come up to me in the bar, but let's meet up. Let's talk. Then that would have given him the opportunity to step to the plate. You're not doing any work. What you're doing is presenting who you are and how you want to be treated. You're not doing any work. You're not fixing a broken piece. You're saying, hey, I'm a king. And if you're going to be in my presence, here's how you're going to have to act.
Well, I think I did that. And by saying, I don't understand you coming on here and messaging me the next day. Because should we find ourselves in the same room again, he will probably say something. I don't feel like I should have to say, hey, well, here's my number. Let's meet. That's your work. That's how I see it. I feel like that's your work. Why do I have to say, hey, let's... Because then to me, that translates to a relationship of every time we go on a date, I got to plan it.
Oh, that does not transfer.
I may be being a bit methodical, but I think that sometimes that shit foreshadows what's coming.
Well, I mean, I think you're using your history and your past to determine your future, and that's really dangerous.
Well, no, because I've never been in that situation in the past. I'm using my experience to kind of choose better. I'm trying to choose better.
And that's what I'm saying. Choosing better is not finding perfect. Choosing better is operating differently.
I'm not looking for perfect.
But choosing better is operating differently. It's having a different mindset. It's about approaching it from a different perspective. It's about being open to the experiences. And not necessarily, you're not marrying the guy. This is the first message. So I think overall, I think you should just take a step back and say, hey, present who you are, how you would like this experience to go, and see if he steps to the plate. If he can step up to the plate, then, hey, you're golden. Now you get to experience who he is. And he knows that now you're expecting to have an experience with him that is back and forth, that you're going to give him something and he's going to give you something, and you guys can marry and see if that's going to work together for the both of you, to start a friendship or to start a relationship or to start a fuckship. Whatever
well,
works.
See,
for
the
you.
thing is, I just think that we train people or teach people how to be in relationship with us. And I just don't want to start off any bad habits. So I personally feel that if we're meant to meet or connect, then he'll do better the next time. Like if I see him in person, or you know what I'm saying? But then at the end of the day, I must not have been interested. You know what I'm saying? Because I probably would have engaged him a bit more.
Right.
I wasn't rude. I wasn't nasty because I don't believe in trying to shoot people down.
Right.
Because it does take courage to approach a person.
does.
Even if it's through a message.
Yeah.
It still takes courage. You know what I'm saying? You're putting yourself out there naked.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I get it. But I just feel like that was very sophomoric.
Mm-hmm.
His approach was very sophomoric. Mm-hmm. And so it just didn't work for me. So what are some of the success stories that you've had in terms of matchmaking? And how did you know you could do it? Was this something that you found yourself doing before you started a business?
So here's another way here's another situation that happened that caused me to go in this direction. I felt like I didn't have the resources I needed to really be successful at dating. Mm-hmm. So I figured I would hire a matchmaker. Mm-hmm. And I hired this matchmaker, and she was out of Dallas, and her company was all gay men only, exclusive, high-end gay clientele, right? Mm-hmm. And I wasn't high-end at all. The price for the service was $5,000, and it was a 12-month contract, okay? The contract read 12 matches or 12 months, whichever is the later. Mm-hmm. Okay? I didn't know her definition of matches. My definition of matches would be the number of dates I go on. Her definition of matches was the number of matches she matched me with in her system.
Right, whether you
which
went
I
with
didn't
them or
have
not.
access to at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt like, and she was heterosexual, and she had some issues with how to talk to gay men. So she put me on this date with a lawyer, older than I. We met at this restaurant, and her feedback to me the next day was, he mentioned your nails. Do you have nails? And I say, yes, I'm very proud of my nails. I have very large nail beds, and I think I have some beautiful nails. And she said,
fingernails.
Well, yeah, mm-hmm. Fingernails. And I said, what? She said, well, maybe you should square them and not point them. And I said, what? And she said, yeah, I'm just, he may have had a problem with that. And instantly I knew that she didn't understand the community. To tell a gay man to conform to something else mm-hmm. for someone else was just totally disrespectful. And I had to ask myself the question, what are you doing? Mm-hmm. Why are you letting a heterosexual woman match you with a community that she, number one, doesn't understand? Mm-hmm. Right?
Do you think that a heterosexual person could be a matchmaker for the gay community?
I think she could. I think she would have to have some LGBT advisors. Mm-hmm. Because there's just things that they're not privy to. Mm-hmm. Even being a person that has a gay son or something like that, there's just not things you have to run certain dialogue by people before you present it.
Well, let me ask you this. Like in your questionnaire, you said it's 150 questions.
Yeah, about.
Do you ask specific questions around vices? Because for me, as a single person that's dating, aside from brokenness, mm-hmm. one of the things that I am very concerned about and I look out for is vices.
Okay.
Gay men that participate in orgies or go to the gym and fool around in the gym or go to the parks at night and do shit in the park, or they go to sex parties, or they, you know what I'm saying? Do you ask those kinds of questions in your questionnaire? Because that would be things that I would want to know.
Okay, so I would ask, what do they do on their free time?
That means eating cheesecake and watching Netflix.
Yes, but a little bit more in detail. If you tell me, hey, I like to eat cheesecake at night, I said, so the only thing you do at night is eat cheesecake? right? So I dig a little bit deeper to see what is it that is taking up your time.
I want you to specifically have a question on your thing that says,
Well, then when
do
you pay your fee
do
and
you
get
go-
on our service, then I will ask those questions to
Th-
everybody.
those are the questions I want to know. Do you go to bathhouses? Do you enjoy threesomes? Like, those are the kinds of things, because I think that whatever you're looking for is also looking for you.
Yeah.
So I'm not interested in someone who participates in threesomes or want to be in threesomes, but there are people who are okay with that. And I think that you need to have those kinds of questions to allow people the space to be that honest,
right,
to be that open. And I think a lot of times people feel like they have to hide their fetishes or whatever you want to call them. And I just don't think that you have to. I think
I think that the questions are general questions that will give general answers. But as I get to know you, there are other questions that come up. Okay, I have to pay attention to how many questions I'm putting out there, because you'll be amazed at the feedback I've gotten with 20 questions or 30 questions, where people are like, it's too long.
Well, what about questions like HIV status? Do you ask questions like that? Would you date someone that's HIV positive?
We do ask sexual preference. We do ask HIV status. We do ask if a gay man will date a transgender person. Those, yes,
race,
we do.
That kind of thing.
Race.
Because there's a show that I really enjoy. It's called Married at First Sight.
Yes.
And it's a reality show. And I think about it. I watch it faithfully. And I wonder, would I be able to do something like that
Me too.
if they ever offered it for like gay couples?
Yeah.
But my concern is these are heterosexual people who are matchmakers, and I always wonder, would they know what to look for? Going back to what you just said about this female matchmaker down in Dallas who was working specifically with gay men but didn't really know the ins and outs and what to really ask. That's always my concern. Like, would these matchmakers from this television show really know how to match gay men? Because I think even in my own personal life, I have female friends that will always say, I have somebody that I want to introduce you to. Ooh, let me hook you up with this guy I know. And I've always told my female friends, you don't know what to look for.
Right.
You can't match me.
Right.
Because they always just think, oh, you go to the gym, he goes to the gym, oh, you're nice looking, oh, he's nice looking, in their opinion.
Right.
And then I always look at these pictures because they undoubtedly always pull them up on a picture. And I'm like, girl, no, he ain't really my type. But, or in some instances, they're men that I already know. Not from that kind of a way, but I know them from being about town. And they have a reputation that precedes them. You know, as a person that does the sex parties or what, you know what I'm saying? Like, these little dirty secrets that we don't share with the females in our lives. And I'm not pointing the finger at anybody, because even in my first book, I talked very openly and candidly about a time in my life where I used the online websites, Adam for Adam and Men for Now, to meet guys that I didn't know to have sex. It was a symptom of my depression. Anonymous sex was a symptom of my depression. So I'm not judging, but I'm just not in that space now. And I don't believe that everybody that uses casual, anonymous, wanton sex are in a depression. I think some people do it because that's what they enjoy doing. And that's fine. But I want to be with someone that does not use that as sport.
Yeah, I think again, because
I'm giving you a mouthful.
You
right?
are giving me a mouthful. I'm telling you, I'm about to break out the pen and paper for you. But anyway, I think you got to give people chances, right? I think people get stuck in where they are in their lives, and they do things to satisfy the now, even though they are moving towards something different, right? So I think if you cut them off based on the instance that they are having casual sex with anonymous people, then you really don't get to know that person. All you know is that they having casual sex with anonymous people, but you really don't even understand that maybe they don't even like it, right? It got a point in time, I used to have a lot of casual sex with anonymous people, right? And I remember the moment in which I started to switch and change. I remember inviting this guy over, right? And number one, he took too long. And, anytime
to come over?
Right. So
Okay.
I'm thinking he should have been there in 10 minutes because my mind frame is get in, get out, right? And so he took too long to come in. He came in, we had sex, and as soon as I had my orgasm, I was like, get the fuck out.
Wow.
My whole energy was like, leave. Because deep down, even though I was using that to satisfy the moment, wasn't what I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
So then it stopped sustaining me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got disgusted with myself. It wasn't him. I got disgusted with myself, continuing to put myself in a position where I wasn't being fed.
What I will say to you is, because I'm hearing what you're saying, I'm very clear. I'm very clear that as much as I want partnership at this point in my life, I'm not desperate for it. I'm not thinking about it every single day. I'm open to it. I am open to it. But as interested and as open as I am, I'm also equally afraid. Because I'm not afraid of being in love. I'm afraid of being there alone. And that's just as transparent as I can make it. I've experienced heartbreak. I've experienced breakups. And I don't want to have to try to survive another heartbreak. And I know that, there are no guarantees in relationships. And there's the intellectual side of me. That's the feeling side of me. The intellectual side of me understands that every relationship is designed to grow you and to teach you something. So if I get into a relationship and it lasts 5 years or 5 months, that's what it was supposed to be. And we're supposed to take whatever lessons you get from it and move on. Because, and I've said this several times on this podcast, there's 7 billion people in the world, almost 7 billion people in the world.
Okay.
Who's to say that you're supposed to spend your entire life or the majority or the bulk of your life with one relationship or with one partner? I think life is about experiences. I think that you give your best in every relationship that you're in. So if it's 4 years or 14 years, you give your best in those moments. But when it's time to move on, you have to be able to recognize. And I think that's where a lot of the pain comes from for people. When the relationship ends and when a breakup happens, a lot of people wrestle and struggle with letting go. I think it becomes more painful when you refuse to let go. Because I think that the signs are usually there, usually no, and most relationships continue on beyond its expiration.
Right. I think you have to be open. Try giving a hug without opening up all your vital organs.
All right.
Right? You can't protect yourself and be open at the same time. You can't.
That's a good metaphor.
Yeah, so relationships are similar to that. Each experience you have to be open to receive what this person has to offer. And even if it doesn't work for you, the ability to say, I got the present, I don't want it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're doing it too early, then you don't get the fullness of the present. He pulled it out and you was like, I don't like the packaging. Bye.
Oh, well, that
Right?
situation, I'm over that, yeah.
No, I'm not talking about that situation. I'm just talking about in general. When you have experiences with people, get the full package and say, thank you. I received the gift. I don't want it.
All right, well, listen. Tell them your website again.
Just Like Me, LRC.
That's
.com.
Just Like Me, LarryRobertCraig.com.
Correct.
Just Like Me, LRC.com.
Yes.
Thank you guys for listening to this podcast today. If you're listening for the very first time and you have not subscribed, you should be ashamed of yourself because it's free. So Much to Say is a free podcast. If you're listening in Apple Podcasts, just hit the subscribe button at the top, but we're also available in Spotify, SoundCloud, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, YouTube, wherever you listen to a podcast, we are there and we're available. I'm doing the very first live podcast to celebrate the 1-year anniversary of So Much to Say. It's going to be this coming June 2nd at 5 p.m. in Atlanta. The details are available on my website, www.craigthewriterstewart.com. Click on the podcast tab at the top, and the details are there. We're going to have a conversation called Words That Hurt, Nigger versus Faggot. I hope to see you there. Be safe. Keep loving yourself.